and even a future felt impossible. I was 16, going on 17, and I had just experienced my second manic and psychotic episode. I remember being in the car, being driven around South and West Yorkshire, a purposefully long car journey, as this was another day spent off school. This was a low point in my life. I remember saying I would not have a future as a result of my bipolar disorder, that I would not be able to handle anything, any job, or even a single day at sixth form, let alone a career or a university education. For some reason, my logic was this: you can lose your mind and everything and get through it, but only once. You won't be able to get through it again. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Bipolar is an episodic mental illness which involves manias, which in my case are like earthquakes that upend my life, destroying my grasp on basic tasks such as clear speech and rational thoughts, and also depressions, which again in my case, though I try and hide them, they come regularly, powerfully, and give me this critical voice which tells me I'm worthless and other very helpful things, like why aren't you a millionaire or a homeowner at age 23? Or the worst of all, why are you not perfect? It feels very naive to say this out loud, but after my first episode, I clung on to the hope that to be successful and achieve, I would be able to do this as long as I don't let myself become ill again. This is for a mental disease which by its very nature is cyclical and episodic, like the seasons. It is even more crucial for me to recognise that I had that same mindset, sadly, starting university in September 2019, even after experiencing 3 episodes in 3 years. My third episode happened a week after my A-levels, and the response to it was rehearsed and swift. Due to that response, I was able to write my Access to Leeds essay, which was on epiphenomenalism, about the mind and body duality. So I thought to myself whilst reading this topic, very confusing, but maybe I am an expert on this. Look at my life. Though I didn't really gain much insight into my condition writing that essay, the process of writing it, the learning of academic skills before university was very valuable, and this I feel helped level the playing field for myself and for other Access to Leeds students here in this room. A few weeks later in August, 18 years of my life came to a head. Years of suffering, of trauma, of rejection, of expectations external and internal, but also of longing and desire. In the house's hallway where I had been maniacally sick and at risk, I now felt nervous, and due to my own history, ready for the worst. I opened the email. I got into Leeds. I checked it again. I got into Leeds. The feeling of fear I had turned into courage. I had done it. This was a huge moment, but in retrospect, achieving with mental illness is, relatively speaking, the more straightforward part. Working hard to achieve surface-level success is the cornerstone of our youth and results-obsessed culture. Results Day for me was like the relief at the end of the novel, a happy ending for myself. But what happens after you achieve your goal in life? A good thing for me, philosophy would be a part of my degree. As I said earlier, as a teenager, I thought another episode would mean I could not progress, but I did progress. Yet I did not apply that crucial information to my time at university. The first year of university, for me and for every other 2019 starter, was split into 2, before and during the pandemic. The freedom of pub, bars and university social life evaporated in March 2020, but I was lucky to have in its place by then, due to my intellectual nourishment here at Leeds, a purpose: student journalism. I was almost called to write about the pandemic and how it was affecting the education of students, writing for the Griffin and also for Yorkshire Bylines, finding my passion and then starting to improve my craft. University provided me the time and environment to be creative, a key part of myself that I lost in the stress of the all-or nothing GCSE and A-level exams that, in my view, cruelly divide the still class-obsessed and hierarchical country. I think nearly every day about my first year of diagnosis, which saw me in 2 days after begging to break my section to to go back to school so I could have an education. On my first day of year 11, I remember sitting 2 unplanned mocks back to back and nearly throwing up out of uncharacteristic anxiety. A further way the Plus programme helped me was a trip to the South Bank Centre in my first year, which opened my eyes to the media culture of London. Exciting, big, overwhelming, but less so as we went as a group. I watched the media executives speak with confidence and I tried to apply this to a new mantra I keep to this day. Publish, not perfect. The Plus programme also helped me become more civil-minded with its steering group. Some of the changes helped me, but most often these were for the good of others. And a rejection of the individualistic exam culture, where all that matters is yourself. Grades are important and so is hard work as well as progress, but policies such as unconditional once-a-term course extensions for all students and aftermath of the pandemic is a progressive policy. Policies that think the best of students as adults and understand the complexities and diversity of different students' experiences and backgrounds. As a registered disabled student, I had the extra defence against my illness, a recognition of my unique challenge in a system which should not be one size fits all. This leads to third year, where interestingly, due to success, I got into the trap of perfectionism and fear. For so long I had avoided mania, but not depression. And so in one way, for some reason, I thought I should do even better. Instead of compassion or patience, I switched it up again. I needed to get into my dream masters. I needed to be great at journalism. I needed a first. I needed to be perfect. And I was not. I had a manic episode in January, around exam time, after getting into my journalism masters, applying first in my cohort. Maybe that is something many of you recognise in yourself, the need to be the best as a result of your background, to compensate for any disadvantages you may have experienced. But more often than not, I find that pressure to be the best backfires. I ended up being treated in Leeds for my mania, meaning one great day in February, I walked from the medical session in Hare Hills all the way to the city centre, just to do something. I had a tea at a cafe nearby and spoke to an oldish man about the university. Not many around here of you, he said to me. And he also told me he had done fabulously well in his life. But in his generation, he did not get the chance or true choice to go to university. I then walked through Hare Hills, which elicited a memory of my Plus programme talk a few weeks before university began, where I heard about an alumni's childhood there. That Plus programme session made all the difference to my freshers week, because I had less pressure and I had listened to inspiring life stories, role models. I finally had the final tea in the city centre next to the designer shops, the complete contrast to Hare Hill, and realised there is so much more to life than academia. Even the society we can pretend is static and inevitable, with its inequality, poverty and prejudice, will change and perhaps change fundamentally. I am so proud of my time at university, partly because of my 2-1 degree classification, but more so as I feel I have learned a lesson about how fear, which has turned to courage, needs to change into compassion. I graduated with a broadcast journalism degree from Salford since then, and now I'm a reporter for the Colchester Gazette. That's in Essex for those of you who are unaware like I was. I have started my career, which is not impossible, but it is hard. In the last year, I have interviewed Nigel Farage, covered a mental health inquiry, and also went as a freelance reporter to Ukraine. My focus was on the underrepresented voices, women, children, and people living with disabilities in Chernihiv, particularly at the Revival Centre where I stayed. At university, I found my own written voice, and now as a reporter, as a journalist, I use my education and skills to write down and share the voices of others who have then found themselves in a situation any of us could be in. In the car on my graduation day from Leeds in July 2022, I did think back to the car journey I had 4 years prior, when I thought it was all over. education, my career, and even my future. My journey at university was the changed person I was in that car, compassionate and kinder towards myself. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. But as someone with bipolar, I would say the definition of mental health growth is going through the same thing over and over again each time, but each time you are stronger. I am still on that journey, but standing here is the longest I have been since a manic episode in my life. Through education and progressive institutions such as the PLUS programme, I have been given the opportunity to define myself as a student, a graduate, a reporter, and a writer. A path I have benefited from those who came before, and a path that must remain open for those after me, who can go from surviving to thriving with the power of higher education. Have the confidence to write that first draft, have the courage to rewrite it, and find compassion to keep going. The worst thing that I feared would happen to me at university happened. It passed, and it led to the best thing, defining myself as a person with a future.